want to do just before we break for lunch, Soheil. There he is, okay. I wanted to just, and I'll shrink it down a bit here, but I just wanted to give people a sort of overview of what the Academy's up to. And Soheil's going to say a few words about the high-level vision of where we're going. And Oskar Sigvaldason, who chairs the Future of Energy Committee that Nicole sits on, and Axel, who's here somewhere, he's going to come in over Zoom. So this is going to be our first attempt at a Zoom presentation here. There we go. Good start. Hello, Oskar. So I will. We'll see how this goes. Soheil, if you'll come up, thank you. And if we have a bit of time, I may give you some sort of summaries of all of the various committees and programs and partners and stuff, but I think we'll probably try and, in the interest of having a good and healthy lunch discussion, I may just skip that. So, I'll let Soheil take the mic, and then we'll pass over to Oskar. Well, thank you.
You know, I'm at the crossroad of should I talk about the presentation I prepared or talk about what Senator Galvez mentioned about this challenge that we have between, trade-off between financial and environmental performance, and also how are we going to talk to federal government in terms of where we are going and what is our strategy. I'm gonna select going and addressing what Senator Galvez said. I think that's more interesting idea. So let me start off by saying that it was Bernard Shaw that once said that if you have an idea and I have an idea, at the end, or in the end, we each are gonna have if I have an apple and you have an apple, at the end, each of us, we are gonna have one apple. If you have an idea and I have an idea, in the end, we are gonna have each two ideas, which I think actually probably there was a mistake that he made, because the idea number one and idea number two can generate idea number three, and idea number three with idea number one generate another idea, so that goes on forever. So this is about the power of collaboration, and it's about power of innovation. So there needs to be a paradigm shift in terms of how we are thinking about this trade-off between financial and environmental performance. Because if we say to the companies, you guys don't make money because we only care about the environment, they are gonna go bankrupt, we lose jobs, so they're not gonna be happy. And if tell people that we gotta go, essentially, we are not gonna go after the environmental, we have betrayed them. So how do we solve the problem? I think this paradigm shift is about through collaborative innovation, we can achieve both. We can achieve meeting our performance objectives and financial. And I have several examples. I'm gonna talk about one of them, and if you want, I can talk about more. We at PTAC had this program that we have done over 500 applied research projects in collaboration with the regulatory body, policymakers, and 450 producers. And it cost us $180 million. And producers actually provided 30 million of the 180 million. And the rest, we secured it through other industries that they were having the same problem. Forestry was one of them. NSERC was a big funder, etc. The bottom line is that through actually the work, these 500 projects were done by professors, peer-reviewed projects that had the respect of people, etc. We created what we call best practices in the field. We condensed a 600-700 page paper or report to 2 pages. We send it to the field. They would deploy it. The producers did an assessment and came back and said, as a result of this work that was done through PTAC, on a yearly basis, they are reducing their cost by $93 million per year. So look at the financial leveraging first. It becomes 1 to 2,400. There were 400 producers, only provided 30 million of the 180 million per average producer. You have financial leveraging of 1 to 2,400. The second thing is that we address the environmental problem in a very cost-effective, and now the producers had this other $93 million per year that they could invest on reducing even further work. So that's what I'm saying. This is called power of innovation and collaboration when we combine them together. The end users also were the regulatory bodies and policymakers because they were part of the equation. And essentially all of the best, all of these reports that were created, we provided to them. That became source for the smart policies and regulations. They were driven by engineering facts and science, not based on opinion and things like that. And in my opinion, the academy, if it wants to keep its credibility the way it is, we want to provide facts, engineering and science. We don't want to provide opinion. This kind of bring me to where we are going with the academy. We are addressing the grand engineering challenges. Net zero is one of them. Resilient building, we talked about it, that's another one. Ocean, digitization, etc. And then so for doing that, we looked at it and we said, look, it's gonna cost several trillion dollars to do all of these projects together. In Alberta, we had a problem when we were doing a bunch of oil sands projects, each of them around $7 billion, two of them, it created a major challenge for Alberta in terms of shortage of engineers, shortage of skilled labor, housing problem, etc., with only $14 billion projects. For net zero, we are not talking about 10 times more. We are not talking about even 100 times more. We are talking about more. So what is it gonna happen to this country when we are gonna have this huge shortage of engineering? So we thought the best thing is to talk to federal government. We organized several meetings with the leaders in federal government. And to our surprise, they said they agree with us and they are actually concerned about that challenge and they asked for our help. So our first step is having a big summit in October, which we would address or first articulate these challenges and try to address with the help of you people, with the help from industry, from regulatory bodies, from NGOs, from Aboriginal association, etc. So that is essentially where we are going. And again, in my opinion, this is something that requires major collaboration. So that's what I would like to make sure that all of us are engaged with these activities. And I don't know, Robert, do you have a chart that you want to maybe show in terms of who is doing what? If you have time, maybe that's the best time to talk about it.
Yeah, well, let's,
so
I think if we pass over
to Oskar.
To Oskar.
Right. Okay, well, thank you.
Okay, so I would like to introduce you to Oskar Sigvaldason, who wishes he could be here today, but through the magic of Zoom, which we know so well, he's coming to us from Niagara. And Oskar, please take it away.
Well, thank you very much, Robert. First of all, could everybody hear me?
Yeah, you're loud and clear.
Okay, very good. So if you could just put up the first slide, please.
Okay, we have FEC purpose and mandate.
Right, yes.
Actually, we don't.
So,
sorry, just a second. Can we get the, yeah, please. I can see it, but nobody else can. There you go, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So first of all, I just want to give a little bit of background. I'll go through very quickly. I'll build on Soheil's comments about the Future of Engineering Committee. So the Future of Engineering Committee is really built from the CAE's mandate, the Academy's mandate, on being a source of information and promoting the value of the engineering profession in terms of addressing many of the challenges that exist in Canada today. Robert, I don't actually see the graph. I don't see the overhead. Is that?
I think I think you're just going to have to trust that it's being shown.
Okay, no, it's just that I don't see it. Okay, so so the first thing is the mandate then, and so that's really built up. There are 3 points there from the really the purpose of the academy. So if I could go on to the next slide, please.
Okay, we have the FEC approach.
Okay, so I can't, given that I don't actually see this. So the FEC approach, I just want to emphasize some key points about that. I've listed several things in there, but I think the thing that I would really like to highlight is that in the past, we have tended to be a reactive organization. And I think with the creation of FEC, which really began 3 years ago, it was to play a more proactive role. We can certainly participate in webinars and in preparation of documents and papers and so on, but we do want to work directly with government and with industry and with key stakeholders to really advance the agenda on these things, not just to provide advice, but to be very active in the process. So then the next overhead, please.
Yeah, the Future of Engineering Committee.
Yes, the Future of Engineering Committee. It's a small committee at this time. I think you will recognize all the names on there, or at least most of the names on there. I should just make a point that the FEC committee was really created by Eddie Isaacs when he was past president of the Academy. And so he, during his 2 years as past president, he was the chairman of the committee. And then a year ago, he offered for me or asked me to assume this role. So at this stage, it's a very small committee of very distinguished professionals from across Canada. So the list is there. I think the one of the things that we're looking at is possibly including the committee to be a little bit larger. And what we want to do also is to have more of an outreach program where each of the members of the committee would take on more specific responsibilities. So we have, for example, Dave Collier is leading a small task force in terms of dealing with the challenges of project delivery, which is we've identified as a major gap in Canada. We have major infrastructure developments ongoing, but now a history of overruns, cost overruns, and schedule delays, which is resulting in reduced confidence of the ability of the engineering profession to really deliver on that. And a lot of that talent has been lost, so we now need to rebuild it. And so that's a specific focus. We also have initiatives with the Canadian Forest Service, which we've been working closely with. And obviously, we're continuing a program on the net zero initiative. So the next slide, Robert.
Yeah, so actually, next slide goes over to mine. That's the last of your slides.
Okay. Anyway, so that's just a quick overview of the Future of Engineering Committee. And we'd be happy to receive any comments on that. But it's a very active committee with huge ambitions. And I think Soheil has played a huge role in terms of trying to build up the profile of the committee with the Canadian government in particular. We want to expand that later on to include governments across Canada, private sector, and the major stakeholders in terms of the huge challenges that are before us, certainly over the next 30 years. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Oskar. And thank you for being the guinea pig on our partial Zoom presentation. So I'll just take 2 really quick minutes just to, I've got a couple of slides that sort of just lay out life as I live it as executive director. So we have 10 committees at the moment. I mean, obviously in the executive committee, we have basic governance committees around audit, finance, human resources, the nominating committee, which is concerned with who's on the board, who's the next president-elect, who's chairing the committees of the board, the fellowship committee, which you all know well. Always, Heather is here somewhere. She may not. Okay, so Heather will happily take names of volunteers. It is, I will say, the hardest working committee in the academy, and very great appreciation for everybody who participates on that. Membership committee is looking. There's a new idea coming, which is, you know, the Royal Society and a lot of the other learned societies now have colleges or ways of bringing younger talent into the academies. And so we're looking at an associate model and we're just trying to figure out the parameters around that to really be able to team people who've been identified with a lot of potential with people who've been identified as fellows. And Bruce is chairing that.
If I may, 30 seconds, if anyone thinks they're interested in working on that, please give Robert or myself, get in touch with us.
Yep, honors and awards, we'll be talking about the scholarship program. Scholarships come about in 2 ways. We have 2 scholarships that are actually endowed. Individuals who have, we give out $2,000 scholarships, several of them a year. The endowed ones take the name of the family who's doing the endowing. It's $100,000 goes into a low-risk investment account and generates it. Otherwise, when you pay your dues, you'll see that there is an area on there for scholarships. And we get a fairly significant flow each year, and we pay for the student scholarships, and basically we'll expand the numbers based on what comes in. I did want to just pick up on one comment that Andrew made. We will not lobby anybody on anything, and one of the reasons why we won't lobby anybody on anything is that we're actually a registered charity. And so if I go lobby anybody on anything, we'll lose our charitable status. So we actually have to be very careful that we can provide advice. And we have to be careful we're not providing engineering advice, because we're not an engineering company, but we also have to be careful that we're technically not lobbying. And that's a line we have to be careful of. The Dean's Roundtable, we have about half of the active deans in Canada as fellows of the Academy, and we have 60 people who have been our active or former deans. And we've been in contact with the US Academy that has a Dean's Roundtable, and we've been working on that. And so it's what I call the Senate of the Deans. So it's not competing with Engineering Deans Canada, but it's a place where we have time to think about some of the bigger, stickier issues. Jesse, who's here, runs the International Committee. Samantha, who isn't, runs the Industry Roundtable, and Richard, who isn't, runs the Indigenous Committee. Very quickly on partnerships, we partner closely with the Council of Canadian Academies, with the International Council of Academies of Engineering and Technological Sciences, CATES, and with PAGSI, the group that does the bacon and eggheads and other outreach to Parliament Hill. I'm on the board of PAGSI. And this is the main projects that are underway at the moment. The ultra-low energy one that you've just heard. We're doing a big one on future networks. Malik Tadapamela, who's a fellow of the Academy and the CTO of Ericsson for Silicon Valley, along with Aldeon Garcia, who you will hear with me tomorrow, are laying out a research roadmap for Canada in telecoms till 2030. To focus Canada's research energy on an important area. And the October project is what I call the team that Dave Collier is running, that Soheil's talked about, for future engineering capacity for Canada. So that's sort of the overview of the things that are going on. And just so you understand, Chris at the back there, who I think you've mostly run into by now, has the strange honor of being the only full-time employee of the Academy. I am part-time. That is the full administrative support. All the rest of this is done through volunteer activity from the fellows. So thank you to everybody for doing that. And with that, I will, well, if people have some questions, yes.
They can help address Canada and the global challenges. As a challenge is so obvious, but we don't see that have priority.
Well, it's not, and so let me
Sure.
just,
Okay.
there are many priorities. What I don't necessarily have is volunteers to pursue them. So,
What should we call? We call volunteers. We have
Well-
tons of engineers and researchers in Canada. We're dedicated, like my entire research is for health.
and so no, absolutely. So this is an important point. I mean, particularly within the fellows of the Academy, they are all involved in 100 things. They're not all involved in them through the Academy. So there are certain areas in which the Academy can play an important role and function as a useful platform. And so individuals like Andrew or Malik or Dave choose to use the Academy as a platform to pursue this. And if we have 2 or 3 people who want to do the same thing with medical assisted devices or other aspects of health engineering and bioengineering. In fact, I was in Paris last year at the CATES annual conference. It was entirely on that topic. So there are engineering academies around the world who are spending a lot of time and energy on that. And I'd be absolutely pleased to talk to you about that.
So the way that we are looking at essentially digitization, artificial intelligence, blockchain, big data, and so many others, we are looking at it as a topic, the same way that net zero is a grand engineering challenge. So when we say future engineering committee, they prioritize their work and they are gonna work on all of these things. They have picked right now number 1 and number 2 as net zero and resilient buildings. But digitizations, we have identified as a topic as addressing a grand engineering challenges. And why I say so, and it's so important, because when we look at essentially what we see in terms of machine learning, AI, and so many others, huge opportunity. I mean, it's just unprecedented. But at the same time, huge challenges with respect, I mean, look at blockchain. It can be used for taking these agreements and streamline it and do a very efficient job. But also we have created Bitcoin, which is the emission is equal to what the country of Norway's generating. So we got to make sure that we go after a responsible application of these technologies by engineers to make sure we take advantage of the benefits, but we avoid the risk, especially on the unethical issues, et cetera, to make sure that the environmental management is managed properly, et cetera. So those are really our job, and it's part of our agenda. But yes, if we get more volunteers, as Robert said, we do more work.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank-
Really, it's our responsibility to help the country so the market. I understand why the carbon and environmental infrastructure are important, but health relates to every single.
Absolutely.
Well, absolutely, yeah, they are.
So let me, I'm just looking at the time here. We're 15 minutes late. I don't want to overly rush your lunch, but I will ask you to be back here at 10 after 1. And we'll try and make up the little bit of time during the afternoon. So thank you so much, and please enjoy lunch.